Welcome to today's episode of Print to Pixel, the podcast where we talk to marketing leaders and technologists about how omnichannel marketing is revolutionizing the way that direct mail and digital channels work together. My name is Dennis Kelly. I'm the CEO of Postalytics, the leading direct mail automation platform that makes direct mail marketing as easy as email. I'm excited today to speak with Colleen Carroll of Double the Donation. Colleen is the community and events lead at Double the Donation, where she focuses on empowering nonprofits, higher education institutions, and K through 12 schools to maximize fundraising through workspace giving. With a background in nonprofit fundraising, mission-driven marketing, and community engagement, Colleen facilitates educational sessions, leads conferences, and creates valuable resources to help organizations unlock the potential of corporate matching gifts, volunteer grants, and volunteer time off programs. Colleen, welcome to Print to Pixel.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you today, Dennis.
We're excited to have you too. We'd love to hear we'll start out by hearing about you. Tell us the Colleen Carroll story. How did you get to this role at Double the Donations and give us some background on you?
Absolutely. So my story goes back a little bit of a ways, all the way back to when I was in high school. I was starting to try to think about what I wanted to do. And I knew I didn't want to go down one of the doctor lawyer routes. And I was trying to figure out what that meant, what was out there. And I don't actually quite know how it started, but I started kind of every summer interning for a different nonprofit within their development office just to kind of see what was out there. And that was my first foray into office world and to the nonprofit world. And I continued to do that all the way through college. And I learned that I loved nonprofits and I loved how passionate people were about the missions and how different nonprofits could look, how the missions could be incredibly different, but kind of their core fundamental structure was so similar. But I did also learn that I personally was not a fundraiser. I feel like there were so many fundraisers that I so deeply respected and was so impressed with their work. And I just didn't see that as my future. So then after I graduated, I was trying to figure out what that meant for me. And I ended up kind of stumbling into this world of businesses and services that serve the nonprofit sector. So I started out at a nonprofit marketing agency, working with them, running some of their community and events and engaging with nonprofits and kind of engaging with the community. And that's when I learned about Double the Donation and employer matching gifts, and that there's this incredible pool of money out there. I talked to some nonprofit professionals and they're like, it's free money. And it's just something people are so excited about. And there's so much to do. And that's kind of how I stumbled into this world. And now I think about employer matching gifts and workplace fundraising every day. And I get to talk to nonprofits and hear their story and hear their challenges and kind of help brainstorm solutions with them every day. So I really feel like I'm kind of living the dream from what I was trying to figure out in those early high school days of figuring out where I was supposed to end up.
Very cool. Well, it sounds as though you were made for this mission that you're on. And, as a former salesperson out in the field, if I could walk in the door and say free money, then that would make my life so much easier.
It's huge.
That's great. So you've landed at Double the Donation. Give the audience a sense of what Double the Donation is, what it's about, who do you serve, and then let's dig into your role there and specifically, how you're contributing to the team.
Perfect. So Double the Donation is a workplace fundraising automation software. And I'm going to dig a little bit into what that means because it's a ton of words jumbled together. Essentially, what we are doing is we're trying to make it easier for nonprofits to access the funds and resources out there via corporate programs. So many of you will know that many companies have an employer matching gift program where they match the donations of their employees, or they're going to have a volunteer grant program where if an employee volunteers their time for a certain kind of cap of time, then the company will give a donation in kind of honor of the work they did. Or volunteer time off. Maybe they have a kind of PTO bucket dedicated specifically to encouraging employees to take time out of their day to volunteer. We also have payroll gifts. So there's so many things out there in terms of ways companies are trying to support nonprofits through employee engagement programs. But we see that the participation in those programs is pretty low. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But I always like to focus on with nonprofits the fact that we can't really control what the company is doing. We can't control whether they're putting it in their handbook on page 356. But what we can control is how we are talking about it with our supporter base and our donors and our volunteers. And so our tool is all about ways that nonprofits can market these programs to their donor base and encourage them to participate. So we have a tool that can embed into a lot of donation forms so that when someone's donating, they can check to see whether they're eligible for an employer match, so that when they get to that confirmation page after they've made their gift, they're immediately kind of sent down the process of here's the actual form you need to fill out for Home Depot to get your gift matched, as well as we have some email automation that can go out being like, hey, maybe you didn't let us know where you worked. Will you let us know so we can check whether you're eligible? Or if you did let us know where you work, hey, you work at Disney, here's your program. And again, here's the form you can fill out. So we have that for employer matching gifts, but also some volunteer time off and volunteer grant programs. So we maintain that database, making sure we know kind of what the companies are doing to make it really easy for nonprofits to market it and for donors to take action in those programs. Did that make sense,
Cool.
Dennis?
Yeah, it does.
Amazing.
And so, I think it's actually, your mission is not dissimilar to that of Postalytics in that you've found a process that has a lot of value,
Yes.
but has a lot of friction and challenges in terms of its execution. And so Double the Donation has built a software tool or tools to assist in kind of eliminating that friction.
Exactly. To get access to that free money or free resources.
Right. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. And I would imagine the maintenance of that database of employers is a significant part of the business.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing with these programs is every company has a different program and it's slightly different in it. There's when are gifts eligible and kind of to what amount? Is there a minimum? Is there a maximum? And then programs change. So we have an awesome database team that's keeping up with that information so that you, the nonprofit, don't have to keep up with that.
Right. Yeah. Makes all the sense in the world. So then at Double the Donation, what is your role and how are you helping to contribute to the growth of the organization?
Yeah. So my official title is Community and Events Lead, and I'm involved with a lot of the kind of educational aspects. We really, again, are trying to look at employer matching gifts and workplace giving comprehensively. So we have our tool, but there's tons of different strategies you can use with the tool and alongside the tool to really make sure your strategy flourishes. So what that means is that I run weekly discussion groups that nonprofits can join, whether they're clients of ours or not, to come on and talk with peers about what they're doing at their organizations. One thing I hear time and time again is if there is someone who is tasked with workplace fundraising at their institution, it is probably just them. They have no one to talk to, no peers to bounce ideas off of. So we have those discussion groups as a place where people can come on and not have to explain the basics. Everyone's kind of on the same page, and then people can strategize and share ideas with each other. I also run Double the Donation's own conferences. So we have in-person matching gift summits, as well as a virtual workplace fundraising and volunteering summit. We had the first one of those in April of this year. We have the next one in October. This is a totally free virtual educational event for people to kind of come on and again, learn about the strategies related to workplace fundraising. And then finally, I speak on Double the Donation's behalf at other conferences, which is again, how we got in touch. I'm going out there and trying to kind of be on the ground and share with people about fundraising, but also hear what's happening with nonprofits and hear where those challenges and those friction points are so that I can bring that back to my team and Either we can talk about how our software can support it, or maybe we put a blog post out or a webinar out or something like that to kind of give the educational content. So that's a little bit about my role. And in terms of how that pushes the business forward, again, I think the big challenge with workplace fundraising is awareness, both within the nonprofit sector and then within the donor base and the kind of employees that are giving. And so I am kind of tasked with getting out there and talking to people and making sure this conversation is happening and people have a place to have the conversation. So that's a little bit about what I'm doing.
Well, that I think is great. Community is a fast-growing strategic area of investment for a lot of organizations. And the success of platforms like Reddit online is just a great example of how people really drawn to hearing unfiltered experiences from others that have, similar interests or similar needs or goals. And so, bringing those people together and giving them a forum to, as you said, talk to a peer in particularly a role where, they may be the only person in the organization that is doing this and the only person that understands it. I think that's super important. And, I really applaud Double the Donation for investing in this category because, I think, as you said, awareness is really a challenge for what it is that you're trying to do. And so, with that in mind, as a kind of underappreciated opportunity and a lack of awareness around the workspace giving concept. If I were an executive at a nonprofit or a head of fundraising, how should I be thinking about this if I'm not doing it? What are the first things I should be thinking about as I'm maybe looking at 2026 and pulling a strategy together to start to do this?
Mm-hmm. So first things first, I'll say, I totally understand that if this is not something you're doing, this is not going to be the first thing that you implement as a nonprofit. There are tons of different ways to fundraise. So I want to spend a little time advocating for why I think it's still important, though, because it is a kind of piece of the larger fundraising pie. First things first, and I can't believe I haven't done this yet. I do feel like I have to define employer matching gifts because that is a policy I have whenever I'm talking anywhere, because you'd be amazed the number of conversations I get through where we get halfway through the conversation and I realize I'm not on the same page with someone. So when I say a matching gift, I'm talking about, again, when a company matches the donation of their employee to an eligible nonprofit school or institution. Not to be confused with those other programs that are like an anonymous donor has given $15,000 and as a match type thing. Totally other valid form of fundraising. Not what I'm talking about. The reason why workplace fundraising and employer matching gifts are important is because there is a ton of money out there. Over 26 million individuals in the United States are eligible for workplace fundraising programs. Another way to think about that is 92% of multi-billion-dollar companies have at least one kind of these workplace giving programs. But the thing is, we see every year $4 to $7 billion in matching gift funds going unclaimed annually. That is just matching gifts. That's not even factoring in the other ones. That is a huge pool of money. 4 to 7 billion.
Wow.
Yeah. That is a huge pool of money that, again, is accessible and kind of there waiting for nonprofits to get. And that's a problem that we're not accessing that, not only because we're not getting the funds into the hands of nonprofits, but because I have a personal fear that if we don't access those funds, the funds are going to go away. Companies are going to stop dedicating as much money to these programs because what's the point if they're not being accessed? So going back to what we were talking about community earlier, I think one of the really kind of special things about the workplace fundraising community is it's not competitive. It's in all of our best interests for these funds to be accessed. So it's kind of a collaborative effort. And if we're talking again about why these funds are not being accessed, it's really because of the lack of awareness. I know I've said that a lot, but we see that 78% of eligible donors are simply unaware of the opportunity or their logistics for accessing the funds. And that is because 81% of companies don't include it in an adequate spot. I think I mentioned earlier something about like putting it on page 56 of the handbook, and no one really goes back to that. So the thing is, for nonprofits, you can't wait for the company to figure it out and to get their employees involved. You want to think about what you can do as the nonprofit to access these funds. And that is marketing and building that awareness. So I think that's where I'd say start off. Like, think about what would you do with those funds, why it's worth your time, and if your team is ready to start accessing them. Because again, it's not going to be the first thing you do. If you're a new nonprofit, don't have that be your first thing. But as you've kind of built up momentum, it's probably time to look at whether you're missing out on these funds.
Yeah, absolutely. $4 to $7 billion of unclaimed funds per year. That's free money, as you said. Mm-hmm. Free money, folks. Go get it.
Exactly.
But you have to put yourself out there. You have to market. And so let's dig in. And I'd love to hear a story about how Double the Donation has really helped the customer. Give us a tangible story about how this has actually worked.
Sure. So in terms of what's going to happen if you're getting involved with the Double the Donation team, first things first, we're going to want to make sure we are asking for employer information on your donation form. That is huge. We can't market to people effectively if we don't know where they work. And people are changing jobs all the time. So we are always recommending to people, the first thing to do is make sure you are gathering employer information on your donation form. With Double the Donation, we have a search tool that can embed into your donation form. So it kind of auto-populates, it keeps the data clean, it makes it that so the Home Depot is the same thing as Home Depot, it's the same thing as Home Depot with no space, that sort of thing. So we have that tool. And then once we get to the confirmation page, we can be like, great, you let us know where you worked. We told you why we were asking. We said, let's see if your employer matches. Again, we don't want people to be freaked out about why we're asking for this information. We get to that confirmation page and we say, fantastic. You work at Disney. Here's the form. Here's what you need to do to get your gift matched. We also, if someone doesn't fill that out or doesn't immediately go fill out the form, we can send them emails after being like, hey, maybe your kid walked in screaming as soon as you finished making that donation. You got distracted. You didn't have a chance to get your gift matched. Here's another opportunity. Do you want to? And so we have a whole kind of email campaign recommended sequence of automated emails that can go out. In terms of success stories, there are kind of not too dramatic, but there's so many different ways that schools and nonprofits have used this to raise more dollars. Because if you're not doing anything for employer matches right now, this in itself is going to get a ton of gifts in the door that you wouldn't have been getting otherwise. So, Igor, you can take out the pause. I lost my train of thought there. Dennis, would you remind me of the original question?
Yeah, just a tangible story about how this has actually worked at a organization.
Perfect. So we've had a ton of organizations set it up like this, and a lot of people will just set it and forget it, and they're going to get dollars in the door from it. But then we have a number of institutions that see this and they go, ooh, I think I can do a little bit more. Like, I think we can use this tool and use this momentum and do some more outreach. So I've had conversations with people at Lehigh University or Save the Children United States or many other organizations where they're like, okay, what marketing campaigns can we attach to this to encourage people to give their gifts? So if you have like a landing page on your website where you have that search tool, we can do a marketing campaign, a text campaign, maybe a Giving Tuesday text campaign that sends people to that page being like, check your eligibility. That's actually going to inspire people to give. What we see, and I want to make sure I'm getting this stat right, is 71% more donors respond to fundraising appeals that mention matching than not. So this is a great way to engage people, to get people to actually get their gift matched. So I have a lot more to say on that. We have a ton of case studies in terms of actual institutions. We have webinars of different organizations talking about how they do it. But that's the basic story of like, if you talk to someone who's had success, that's going to be what they tell you about.
Absolutely. Well, and from a Postalytics perspective, it would seem like such a no-brainer to get a big postcard in front of an eligible employee with a QR code. Boom, you're right on the form, and you're getting set up right away. That would seem like almost a good transition to the fact that our audience is focused on omnichannel marketing,
Yeah.
and uh, so given all of that, you've as you say, you've got to get your name out there. You've got to get the nonprofits have to actively pursue these eligible employees, and so how do you and the team at Double the Donation think about the omni-channel marketing approach? We're using multiple channels, and is direct mail a part of that? And how does that all come together?
Sure. So we think about employer matching gifts and workplace fundraising every day, all the time. So we're always like, put it everywhere. Any place you're talking to a donor, put it there. Put it as a PS. Put it as a QR code. Put it as a link to that page where you have the search tool type thing. So I think we talk about it a lot. So we're kind of always trying to hear what nonprofits are doing, what marketing they're doing. Are they using texting? Are they using direct mail? Are they doing big postcard campaigns in that direct mail? I talked with one institution that they did a postcard right before Giving Tuesday being like, hey, get excited, Giving Tuesday's around the corner. Check to see if you're eligible to get your Giving Tuesday gift matched. And they found that is a really effective way to both remind people that Giving Tuesday is happening and then increasing the gifts that they were actually going to get on Giving Tuesday because those gifts were getting matched. So I think it's very much aligned. Again, we talk about the digital strategy a lot. That's what our tool does. But if you really want to take advantage of it, let's talk about social media. Let's talk about direct mail. Let's talk about in-person events and using like face-to-face time with your donors. So it is definitely related and definitely something that is very much in the conversation on our team.
I would imagine that at a large employer with significant facilities, that nonprofits could potentially have events right there, right at the workspace. Is that something that happens?
Could you repeat that question? I want to make sure I'm
Sure.
answering.
Yeah. It would seem like you mentioned Lehigh University earlier, right? If
Mhm.
they've got a significant campus with lots of facilities, are nonprofits able to go and like have an event at Lehigh and invite all the employees to kind of talk about what they're doing?
Mm. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do that with an event. So for instance, Lehigh is trying to raise funds. I'm gonna say XYZ University. I won't put this on,
Sure.
on
Yeah.
trying to raise funds. I definitely have heard of institutions going to, like, if they have particularly a big local kind of company, like maybe you are the headquarters of one of those big international companies, having
Right.
events particularly for that company and being like, hey, this is your program. This is how you can get involved. We love our partnership. This is how your fellow employees are getting involved. They're volunteering. Do you want to do a volunteering day type thing? So there's absolutely ways to kind of connect directly with those employees and invite them in. I also hear of people going in and doing like lunch and learns, or again, encouraging some like volunteering. And then while people are there volunteering on behalf of the company, being like, hey, do you know about your employer matching program? If you do give, make sure you fill out that form type thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I would imagine those volunteer opportunities are like a great bridge to build into, a donor relationship that can be
Yeah,
cultivated over a long period of time.
exactly.
Clearly, if you're willing to spend your time in the spirit of giving to a particular institution, you've got a passion. So it would
Yeah.
make a lot of sense. Um, cool. So, in terms of your educational role and community building, I understand you're going to be speaking at the Bridge Conference at the end of July, early August. Um, I've got a title here: Intentional Communication to Raise More Employer Matching Gifts. So, give the audience a little preview for those that are thinking about going to Bridge or are going to Bridge. What would your session be about? And just give a kind of an outline of what's happening there.
Perfect. Yes, I'm really excited about this session. I will be presenting, in fact, with Jennifer Grantham of the San Diego Humane Society, as well as Sarah Murphy of the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research. And we're going to be talking about exactly what their organizations are doing with matching gift marketing and communication. What do they have on their websites? What do they put in their emails? What are they considering doing in the future? And I'm going to be kind of talking through the best practices, what I'm hearing from other organizations, how we're seeing kind of trends change. So it's really going to be, frankly, a kind of continuation of this conversation we've just had, with maybe a little bit more of specific, like, let's look at what an email might look like. Let's look at what a postcard might look like that is talking about matching gifts and talk about the strategy, as well as hearing some of the stats that they have about kind of how they've increased matching gifts with just putting in some effort and some time and some space on your marketing campaigns. That's a huge thing that I hear from nonprofits, is like, marketing doesn't want to include it. They have so many other things they're doing, and kind of giving you some data, being like, yeah, we know it's hard to get into the schedule, but it is worth it. Even if all you can get is that PS, it is worth it. So it's going to be a really great conversation. Super excited to present with Jennifer and Sarah. And I do hope people will join us. But if you can't join us in person, we do have a lot of virtual resources. So be sure to reach out and I'll get you connected with those.
Excellent. Well, it sounds like a great panel. And so for anybody considering going to Bridge, I'd highly recommend sitting on this, because you're going to get, real concrete examples of best practices of how this is being done at, I would assume, a pretty high level by those organizations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So definitely sign up for Colleen's session at Bridge Conference. And to wrap up, Colleen, if the audience does want to get in touch with you, they can't make it to Bridge, but they want to get a sense for what's happening, learn more about Double the Donation, where can the audience reach out and find you? Where are you active?
Perfect. So I am personally probably far too active on LinkedIn. So that if you want to reach out to me particularly, find me on LinkedIn, send me a connection request. Would love to connect there, have a conversation, hear what you're interested in. I'll probably message being like, great to be connected. What resources are you looking for? So definitely reach out there. If you're interested in Double the Donation, go to doublethedonation.com. Tons of resources there. You can get in touch with our team to talk about what it would look like exactly at your organization, but you can also access all those webinars I've been mentioning. We have a ton of blog content. There's just a ton of information you can access there. If you are looking for a way to get specifically in touch again with me and you don't want to do LinkedIn, you can also reach out to partners@doublethedonation.com, and that will make its way to me as well. So definitely keep in touch. Again, kind of my role is all about connecting people with those resources and the educational content out there and figuring out what's going to be most helpful for you. So don't hesitate to reach out. Even if you don't really know what you're asking for, we can have a conversation and figure out how I can help in your mission.
Excellent. So audience, reach out to Colleen Carroll, hit her up on LinkedIn. It's a super easy search. You and I connected earlier today. It's very simple. Yep. Or reach out to doublethedonation.com and learn all about how you can get some free money. $4 to $7 billion unclaimed every year is astounding. And so it ought to be a race to try to get as much of that as possible for your nonprofit. Check out Colleen at the Bridge Conference. And Colleen, thank you. This has been really informative, interesting. We talk to nonprofit leaders all day long here at Postalytics, and we don't cover this topic very often. And so, this seems like a real gem of an opportunity for folks that is, not everybody's looking over here. So if you can make an investment in this category, it would seem as though it would be a really wise move at this point. So thanks so much. Really appreciate you being on today.
Thank you so much for your time, Dennis. This was a ton of fun.
Absolutely.